Okay, I got what I think is the last two shelves. So this Space Saga, which is pretty much what this has become, it's time to finish it, I think. Pretty sure. I think this is all the shelves I'll need in terms of... Let's do it. So yeah, if you've been with the channel for a little while, if you're new, regardless, this is about a 3 or 4 part series now. I bought a shelf, which I put in the corner, and I said to myself, this shelf will be the unbox shelf. It's all the stuff that we need to go over. Then, off of that shelf, I bought another shelf. Built it up pretty tall, and then started this one back here. Then I said, if I'm doing this, and I want it to be uniform, at this point, I'm pretty much dedicated, right? So it would make sense to finish the project by replacing this with this. And I did it. I got the 2 shelves. Now it's a matter of doing it. So here's the kicker. Space is the ultimate battleground that we fight with as collectors. We need to know how much space we have, how to utilize that space, how to make it look presentable, and then use that space to the best of our advantage. It's a min-max process. We want to try to get all that we could possibly get out of the space that we have without creating a hoarder situation, right? We want it to look presentable. We want this to be a room that we can come in and sit down and enjoy and things of that nature. We don't want to overdo it, but we also don't want to underdo it and take away the possibility of getting the stuff that we want to get. Well, this is an ongoing process. You take something down, you put something up, you rearrange, you clean, you change. And this is the part of the collecting that few people really talk about, I've noticed. It's not often that you get people that come in and talk about the changes to the collection. Sure, they talk about the items they get. Hey, I got rid of these, I picked up these, I changed that, I did that. But what you often don't see is when they come in and they talk about the other part of the collecting. This. I have to take all of this apart. Take everything off of here. Put it somewhere. Build the shelf. Put the shelf in its place and reload it with stuff. And that's the reason I wanted to start doing these videos, is because it isn't a simple process. Sometimes this is like an all-day event. And I'm going to see what kind of time this really takes. I'm looking forward to this. I am. This is something I'm honestly looking forward to, because I'm looking forward to getting this shelf up. The last one that I put up I thought looked great. This one that I put up back there I thought looked great. I think it all matches my aesthetic that I've been going for. And now this will be able to be repurposed for a 100% bookshelf storing books of a different thing. And possibly it may also go downstairs. It may take the place of being like a bookshelf game shelf. For like the board games that I've collected over time. So, the start of the process is to strip this bare. Let's do that. So the shelf that we're looking at is vehicle stuff on top, or rather big on top, and then we've got some guys in here. This is kind of like my Eternia Warriors, all pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, all of this, yeah, all of this is Origins. Then you go down here, this is a bit of a mix of Origins and some other stuff. And then you go down here, this is some comic book stuff that needs to be changed around pretty much from here to here. Yes, even this the inside of here is where I keep a lot of the mini comics and whatnot, is all Motu, and then all this stuff is a current run of comic books that I'm trying to read. Then you go down to here, this shelf that I did. This is my Evil Masters of the Universe, mostly Motu, aside from like 1 or 2 things on here. Motu Origins. And then you go down further than that, that's a little bit more with a kind of a mix of one or two things. And then on the very bottom are 2 items from Golden Axe, which of course will be moved when all of this gets going. And step 1, as I said, I gotta strip this whole thing down and put all these figures somewhere. It's funny, isn't it? Isn't it funny how you feel like you have so much, right? Like it's taking up so much space, like you have such a collection, and then you clear the shelf off, right? Now you saw it. It's all here. Like we really don't think about the difference in storing that existed when we were kids, right? We had a toy box. And we think about these massive toy collections that we had when we were kids, when we used to just like play toys. And this is why we remember having so much, and then we go back and we start to collect, but we want to display these things. They're like pieces of art. They're pieces of our memory. They're pieces of our personality. They're things that we relate to. They're things that we love. They're things that we appreciate. We want them out in the open, not stuffed in a box. And that changes this aspect so dramatically. Because if I just had like a toy box in the corner, right? I could just throw all this in a toy box. And it would take up like no space at all. Like none. And it's insane. Yeah, sure, maybe you could argue, you know, when it get into like the bigger stuff. But I'm just saying, this was an entire shelf that was at the point that it was getting tough to figure out if I could even put more stuff on it at all. And that's it. It's not even a whole seat of stuff. Now to take this out of the room and start building the shelves. All right, so the new shelf is in place. And like I said, this creates a uniform look. This is the thing that I was looking forward to, is that this look now goes across the room, the entirety of the room. That's beautiful. Now, in the long run, the idea, and this is a bit of a nightmare, because when I first moved in here, I was not allowed to change anything. That was a big thing. So now that the house is mine, the idea is to create this system here on both walls. But for right now, these are going to stand in that place. And I love this uniform look that is now created because of it. This is one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. And uninhibited, I'm going to be able to see all the way down the strip to Nami. Like, that is one of the biggest things that I like about these open shelves. There was a bit of a problem, however. I did lose one shelf technically. One of these split. Now you could say you should have bought the metal ones. That had occurred to me. It really did at the time. But since this was a test and I knew that I could repurpose the shelves if I needed to, I did plastic first run. They are fine. And like I said, in the long run, the idea would be to repurpose these shelves later down the road for some like grocery stock down in my mudroom. And that's when I actually put the more 100% permanent shelves. But for right now, these will do 100% just fine. But I did lose one. Now, to put that into perspective, I've bought 4 of these shelves now. And so, 4 5-tier shelves. So that's, let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's at least 20 rungs every time. Actually, it's, well, okay. I messed that up. I'm so done here. But I'm I'm literally at the end, as you could tell. Like I'm getting pretty tired. I did my workout and then came up here and decided to do this, and I'm like sweating, and I even got the window open and it's not really helping. Maybe I could take this off to be fair, whatever. Anyways, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's 24 of these from floor to ceiling. That's what it takes to go from the floor to the ceiling. So I have one shelf that can go all the way to the ceiling, two shelves that go right before that rung, so I don't have the next tier that goes up to the ceiling. So out of all those, I only broke one of these. That's not that bad. I mean, let's be honest. How many action figures have we opened where the knee breaks on the first bend, right? We've had that situation. So I'm just saying that, well, you could probably say, well, Bill, you shouldn't have cheaped out. You should have went for the metal ones. You could be right. And I wouldn't necessarily argue. If I was going to do this, maybe it would have made sense to put the full bar in right off the bat. Just go for the money, right? But I knew that these shelves were not a 100% permanent solution. They would just give me the final decor idea. And in the long run, as dreadful as it is, because it is somewhat dreadful, at some point, this entire room will be moved out so the walls can be redone and it can be painted. That is a long-term goal now that the house is 100% mine and I can do whatever I want with it. That's one of the long-term goals. I'm going to start at the bottom of the house and work my way up. So this room is a long ways off from that. But since that is a goal long-term, is to come in, redo the room, replace the door, put door, because you'll notice sometimes when I'm panning around in here, the door doesn't have, it doesn't have a frame. There's no door frame. So new door frame, redo the walls in here and repaint the entire room. I have some ideas as to what I want that to be, but we're talking way down the road here. Right now, what I wanted was a system in place that would allow me to put things on the shelves, and I got it. I have enough of these that I could put one more shelf up, but I don't think I'm going to do it yet. I'm gonna wait, and there is actually a reason I'm gonna wait. I feel like taking one of these up to the ceiling without taking both of them up to the ceiling is going to screw up the effect that I want. That one can go up to the ceiling. This one, these two are not going to do that, and I think I will be just fine. I think I have more than enough shelves to do what I want to do. And to prove it to myself, let's put stuff on the shelves. All right, so final judgment, that's an improvement. Look, I have empty shelf, barely occupied shelf. I can still put stuff there. Barely occupied shelf, almost nothing really on the shelf. A bag and a book, empty shelf, basically empty shelf, plenty of room shelf. This shelf, this is every single thing that was in the other shelf, my bad guy shelf. And my bad guy shelf was at a point where I could not fit another character. I was starting to purposely move ones I bought down there. Up here, even the good guy shelf gained ground. There's a lot more area here. There's a lot more somewhere that I can put things next to an empty shelf, And up here, the same vehicle setup with more space if I wanted to put figures up there with it. This turned out to be a definite plus. This is great. So I'll be the first to admit this had me a little worried at first. I mean, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, that's 6 shelves. I had 6 shelves with the other shelf, but I had 7. Because I was also using the top of the bookshelf. Here, I lost a tier. But it is important that these look a little bit better. they are open. See how I got this guy and he's almost on the edge here? And I could do that too. I could put somebody on the edge, like if they had a grapple hook or something like that, like say somebody like a Spider-Man, or if I have Webstore, I think his name is Webstore. I always used to call him Spydor because it made more sense to me, but you get the idea. He has one of those things. He could hang on the side here. That would be awesome. That gives me nearly infinite possibilities for certain kinds of displays and whatnot. And it is worth mentioning that the shelves are the littlest bit deeper, but I do mean minor. The other shelf that I was doing was about 10 inches. These are about 12 inches. Doesn't sound like much, but that extra 2 inches, boy, was that real space. And this doesn't go over as far as the other shelf did. The other shelf was all the way against this, touching this, and then was over and touching these boxes. I did not move these boxes on purpose, which I guess you can't see the boxes. There are boxes. Right there. Those boxes that were over there originally were touching the shelf. Now I didn't move them at all, and I lost about 2 inches. Doesn't sound like much, but you would think that losing inches in one direction and gaining them in the other direction would have hurt me. But I think it's the openness of the shelf, and the height is also important. If I want to, I can now buy those like risers, like those step platforms. I could put those in here and gain every utilizable space out of that. Like, this opened up possibility. It looks better. On a personal level, it looks better. And the personal level is all that matters. Keep that in mind. If you have a garage or an unfinished room and it's not that great, but it's where you can put your figures and it's your little safe space and you can go there and you can enjoy this hobby, that's you. If you have a bedroom that double purposes as a collection room, you got a bed in there and you basically surround it with your stuff, almost like you were still a little kid, like you still have a kid retreat, your bedroom. You know what? If that's what you got, use it, utilize it, live it. Look, guys, we all need an escape. And that's part of what collecting is this tremendous escape. It's this ability to fall back into your nostalgia, into your childhood, and into things that speak to you, that define you. I've said this over and over and over again, and I will continue to say it until the channel dies, or I do, I guess, because so far I've never exactly been hugely successful, and I haven't shut the channel down, so I guess I'll be here till I die. I don't know. Look, guys, every single item in my collection speaks to me somehow. It all has a story. No matter how minor or how large, it invokes a literal feeling out of me. And if it doesn't belong in the collection. Flat out, end of story, period. Did something come off of the shelves that may have given me the littlest bit more space? Now you could argue two items came off of the shelf. One, this thing is kind of cool, but I don't have much use for this, in all honesty. It was one of those things, even I am fully susceptible, even with all the way that I push and all the planning and as meticulous as I try to be with my collecting. I was at a con, I was walking around, I saw this, I wanted to get something while I was there. It was cheap and it was neat and I bought it. And it's just sat on the shelf. It is cool, but I don't really have any real purpose for it. It's probably going away. Or it'll be slipped into a picture frame. Or I might purposely put it on the bookshelf. Because now I have a bookshelf. And this I bought because it was Castle Grayskull. This is when I was first starting in collecting Masters of the Universe. And I did fall into the smallest of traps here. It was a Castle Grayskull. I thought that was really cool. I figured I would find a different purpose for it. I got these little minifigures. I don't have any real purpose for these. I'm thinking about taking the plastic out and adding another one of the minifigures that I have to this, and possibly putting in the other miniature figures that I have. Because I have these little things from like the Dollar Tree, that a lot of people picked these up from the Dollar Tree when they dropped. But like, what other purpose do I really have going on with like this? What is this? So I took it off the shelf. So 2 items came off the shelf, but these items sat on the most cluttered, messed up area of that shelf. It was where there were like a couple of books, the rotator display, and like a couple of like basically almost trash items, things I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with them. Those items, they're now off that shelf. So I didn't really gain space by removing these items. I kind of cleaned space, which may have given me one of the unused shelves up here. Maybe. Arguably. This is a part of collecting. Space and space management. And that's the reason I wanted to come in here and do these videos, do this little space saga. Because if you watch from the first video on, you will see that I have accumulated space by doing this. Now, and I haven't cleaned up yet. I still got boards and whatnot on the floor, and I got to come in and vacuum and everything because like I just did all this stuff, and now there's like some styrofoam on the ground and things like that. So I'm not about to do like a pan around shot, but I could tell you, in all honesty, I now have nothing on the floor. That's a big deal. Ask some collectors how big of a deal that can honestly be when you go from basically trying to figure out where you're going to put something and then buying an item that you need to unbox and then like trying to stuff it in the corner. And especially Gunpla guys know about this. You just, before you know it, accumulate crap. And you're like, oh, I messed up. I gotta open some of this stuff up. I gotta figure something out. And then you're like trying to figure it out. I don't have that problem now. All the stuff, because of these shelves, is now off the floor, on the shelves. And that in its own right made it worth it. Anyways, guys, that's enough out of me. I hope you enjoyed this space saga that we just went through. And there's plenty more for me to film, to open, to talk about, and to do. So I'm going to get out of here. Later on. I have spoken. Take what you will from it.